Whoa. Whoa. Oh my god. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Open Mike and Paul White collaborative record, Hella Personal Film Festival. Open Mike Eagle is a California rapper who you should know by now. He's hilarious, he's clever, he's charismatic, he's gentle, he's kind, he's loving, he's so nice. At this point, you should have heard at least some of his previously released material. Rappers Will Die of Natural Causes, Animal Hospital, which is pretty good. The music he's released with Hellfire Club, Dark Comedy, his last studio solo album, which was fantastic, my favorite of his so far, and now this new collaborative record over here. Paul White, however, I'm not as familiar with, but seeing that he's teaming up with Open Mike Eagle, I'm game for anything. And essentially on this album, I just kind of see Mike Eagle continuing everything that has made him such a great artist up until this point, while also taking a few risks to sort of keep things refreshing. Paul White's production a lot of the time is as soft and spacey and easygoing as Mike Eagle's tone of voice is. It's a little off kilter, it's very sample intensive, it's pretty simple in its build, it seems, at least on the surface. Usually the beats just have a very redundant build, so Mike can kind of take over on these tracks lyrically. But even though I guess there's not a lot of progression to these instrumentals, Paul White does bring a lot of sonic variety to this production. On the song Protectors of the Heat, we have these weird communal tribal rhythms on the track that I didn't see coming. The hook on the song Insecurity sounds like it was sampled from some disco-flavored yacht rock or something. The song I Went Outside Today featuring Aesop Rock has some soul samples with some dusty horns and glistening heavenly pianos woven in. I like the very small and quirky beat on the track Check to Check, the warm, nimble, just somewhat robotic bass line, and the hissing cymbals are kind of cool. And the schmaltzy whistles and pianos on The Curse of Hypervigilance are enjoyable as well. I mean, I think they match Mike's very playful personality. Mike and Paul just complement each other really well. And Mike, lyrically, he's no slouch on this record. He brings plenty of quotables, some great topical tracks. I really think he makes this project live up to the title, where each song kind of feels like its own little story, its own little concept, its own little narrative. And yes, these tracks are very personal, with some very strong themes of death and insecurity, and some of Mike's passionate thoughts on a myriad of social issues. But as I mentioned earlier, lots of quotables on this thing. One of my favorite lines toward the beginning of the record is, "Trying to relive the days that I couldn't grab." I looked up what Lena Dunham said, and I shouldn't have. Open Mike's verse on this track ends with a weird suggestion that we should use like camera satellite technology to spy on fire ants and keep tabs on fire ants because those little bastards. And then he just goes, "Fuck!" And then his verse just ends. I don't know why. Was there a fire ant attack? Similar to Kavanaugh, this record has kind of a very loose, sort of unfinished, very off-the-cuff, very lightning in a bottle feel to it, but I think this album benefits from it even more than that Kavanaugh collaboration did. I love the song Check to Check, which I think was a very clever lyrical angle to take this song. The idea of living check to check, yeah, sort of money check, but Mike Eagle is talking about checking his email, checking his phone, checking his son's homework, checking in, checking out. All of these things he has to check. There's a hilarious line in here about how he's just stuck to his cell phone and that he might as well get a big one and pretend that it's a free weight and get some exercise while he's at it. There's a weird robotic voice diatribe at the end about how humans are sort of being taken over by the mechanical race, I guess. There's an odd track here with an incredibly sad instrumental where Mike Eagle essentially tells a story about a guy who dies just hundreds of times over, kind of living again and again and again, kind of in a Bill Murray Groundhog's Day sort of way. So he hits me with some surprisingly serious moments on here, and tracks that are, I guess in a sense, no less serious, or the topic is no less serious, but Mike is able to approach it in a clever way with some comedy and make it, I guess, some cool food for thought, like on the song Smiling, where essentially he's talking about how just going about his business day to day, being out in public, people don't smile at him because he is a black man, and the white public that he's dealing with have this fear of black people, like they're going to mug them or hurt them or kill them. He even highlights an experience he had where a woman avoided eye contact with him because she must have thought he was a white person strangler. And I have been in this man's presence at least a few times, so if he were a white person strangler, he has had more opportunities than most have had to do that to yours truly. On the song Leave People Alone, Mike Eagle takes another political angle where at one point in the song he essentially just devolves into this semi-rap, semi-rant at anyone listening who doesn't know who their local government representatives are without sort of checking or looking it up. It seems like the political and the social is really important to him on this record, and not only that, but just effectively communicating your causes and what you care about. On the song Insecurities, he goes in about sort of caring about something and pushing ideas without being an asshole or being rude necessarily. But then at the very end of the track, it's almost like he takes everything he's made up until that point and just erases it, throws it in the trash as he says, never mind, just don't even bother, just lie, you know, just lie. I guess instead of caring or getting things done or being sincere, just lie. Which I guess is kind of the point of the track Insecurities. It's like he cares, but he's not that confident in himself to sort of be shoving these ideas down people's throats. On the track Insecurities Part 2, we see insecurity again being depicted, but in a different light. Here, Open Mike Eagle seems to be surrounding himself with people, with friends, maybe with some alcohol, to kind of hide himself away from the world or just not deal with the harshness of reality. Because there are some very alcohol-drenched tracks on the back end of this project, and it gets the most hilarious on the song Drunk Dreaming, where essentially we have Open Mike Eagle pulling together a bunch of very weird, surreal, odd ideas and vivid dreams that are partially just him dreaming, partially just drug influence. We have Dr. Martin Luther King telling him he's the motherfucking man. We have Obama, a little Obama, a very tiny Obama flying by on a drone. So yeah, this record is a lot of fun. It's got a lot of character, it's got a lot of personality, and I think it's got an interesting concept to it. Some cool themes. Open Mike Eagle, for the most part, I think is really on point. The production complements him consistently, but there are some low points on this record, I think. The opener and a handful of other tracks on here too are just so spacey, so underwhelming that they don't really, I guess, engage me directly. I think generally some of Paul's production here could have used a little more progression and could have used a little more punch, a little more weight. Because sometimes they're just so easygoing that their presence just isn't really felt as Open Mike is just going absolutely insane on some of these instrumentals. His flow is, I think, a little more expressive here than it has been in his past few records. And then there is one moment here where Open Mike and Paul White just go overboard on the song Dang Is Invincible. And I do like it when Open Mike does something eccentric, does something loud, does something in your face generally, but this track I just had a hard time wrapping my head around. No matter how many times I listened to it, I just couldn't see it as anything more than sort of obnoxious. And for sure, I'm positive that that is their intention, because it's just so grating. Dang! But outside of those several moments, I think this is a really cool rap record. I enjoy it quite a bit. Another fun, thought-provoking record from Mr. Mike Eagle. I'm feeling a decent to strong 7 on this thing. Transition! Have you given this Open Mike Eagle record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You the best, you the best. What should I review next? Hit the like. If you like, please subscribe or you'll die. Open Mike Eagle. Hella Personal Film Festival. Forever.